out of my studio.
Randy is clearly up to something.
I promise. You won't be sorry.
How you doing, Kirsten?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. Um, I'm quite surprised because I found out that you started as a stunt performer and to do something totally different. I think it's awesome because I think that people who think that go from one end of something to another, they think, oh, she's gonna do an action movie first, maybe. But I like the fact that I love the versatility in terms of what you decided to do for your first feature film. And this was a fantastic movie. I mean, I absolutely loved it. And I just actually wrote the review right before this interview. And I will say, I said, if Margaret Qualley got kudos for the substance, this should be Rainey's film because she did such a phenomenal job in this.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, Rainey really poured her heart into this role. It's a character that she could relate to in a lot of ways, being an up and coming singer-songwriter herself. So it was really great to have her. I mean, we took this journey together for sure. And it was a wild one. I mean, as you said, it was my first movie. I'm coming from stunt, so it was a very different world. And we started filming during COVID, and we had a couple COVID shutdowns, and then we had 2 strikes, and all kinds of curveballs thrown our way. So we're really happy to be at the finish line now and being able to share the movie with everybody. Yeah.
What brought up the idea of coming up with the idea of this singer-songwriter who goes through so much to try to make it big into the world? Where did the idea come from as you also wrote it?
Well, coming from stunts, it is a very male-dominated industry. And so, my own personal experiences, and the people around me, I've seen a lot of like extra hoops be put up. For a long time, they didn't even have women in stunts. They would put men in wigs. And, even in the beginning, I do a lot of driving stuff. And I got a lot of pushback from men because they were like, well, those jobs are being taken from us. And I'm like, well, it's a woman. Like, she should be doubled by a woman, right? So, it's just, some of it is honestly like, it was so absurd, some of these conversations that I had to like have an outlet of some kind.
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily want to write about the stunt world. My son's dad is in the music industry, so I got to spend a fair amount of time in that world. So that's why I chose that. But, I also saw women who were very successful in the music industry having to deal with the same crap. And so, I was like, okay, this is an evergreen story, unfortunately. And, honestly, even within the entertainment industry, I think you can take it out of that even in, say, just an every day-to-day life. There's a lot of situations where people show up, they want to just be able to do their work and be the best version of themselves they can. And for whatever reason, there are these people out there that want to mess with people and prevent that. And I think the worst are the false mentors, people that are there saying,
Yeah.
hey, I really want to help you. I believe in you. I support you. And I've had a few of those myself. And yeah, it's very nefarious. And I still can't understand why people do it, but I wanted to shine a light on it.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the whole thing with your experience as a stunt performer dealing with the male dominated because what many people don't realize is I'm a film studies major, so I'm going to bring this up. But my expertise was Hong Kong cinema, and what people don't realize was some of the first action stars in Hong Kong films were female. That's what I don't get. So hearing that you brought this up, I really can relate to that because I've seen it myself. And I also question, like, why aren't there more you know, females getting there in the action industry nowadays? Because now people just train for roles, but there's those with obviously who have the skills. They should be up in front, up in center. And I like that you brought the music industry into involved because nowadays we're seeing a lot of horror stories about female stars who've had these producers who pretty much did what Brandon does in this movie. He promised to be this, you know, great guy. And I was mentioning that in the first half of the movie, he's like Dr. Jekyll, but then the second half of the movie, he's Mr. Hyde all the way.
Which Ryan Hansen, we felt was really perfect for that because everybody knows Ryan as this funny, affable, sweet guy. So, it makes it a little harder to digest, right? And like, oh, wait, that, he shouldn't be behaving that way. And I think it's a good point that like when we like people, it is harder to believe that they're doing bad things, right? And like,
Yeah.
and so he, really has that, we called it his golden retriever energy, which was really perfect because, a lot of people who do crappy things to people are complicated. They're not just bad people. I don't really believe in that, right? Like just having a villain be a bad person. It's like people are complicated and, we're making choices constantly. And some people make bad choices, most definitely.
Yeah.
But we're complicated.
Yeah, and I also felt like because he was this big rock star, he had this sense of entitlement, and that's how I felt. Like, and he was allowed to get away with so much because of that entitlement. And as we get to see throughout the film, and I gotta tell you, Rebecca De Mornay, I loved her in this role as Kate, the agent, because she was one tough cookie. Like, she brought that energy, like you don't mess with my client, and
We
she was.
loved that for her. Yeah, she was so great. And she has a daughter who she actually one night when we were filming, she was going to her daughter's 25th birthday that night. So for her, it was very relatable to have that protective feeling. Yeah, she's great. We really lucked out with her.
So you mentioned that you went through so much to get this film done. How long did shooting take? And aside from COVID, what else did you have to face making this movie? Because I'm pretty sure there's quite a few things.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, to just kind of put into context how long it takes to make a movie, because I mean, this was my first one, so I didn't realize. I wrote this script in early 2019. We filmed it in 2021 or in the beginning, and then did a little bit in 2022, and then it was just post, and we had all the strikes and everything, and we honestly, I just feel like we ran into kind of every curveball we could. Rainey got COVID literally the first day that we filmed. We were supposed to be flying to film a song that night, and she got tested right before, and it was like there's a great duet in the movie that is Jason Isabel and Brandy Carlisle, and we got that to be recorded, and it was supposed to be Rainey, but she got COVID, so it was just devastating to be like, oh, you don't get to do this song. But we filmed this in LA, and I am such an advocate for filming in LA, but I will say that the system and the processes need to be made easier. As a stunt person, I've worked all over the place, and they put a lot of extra restrictions and rules and costs into play in LA. So that was something we definitely dealt with, and like I had to fight to, as originally there were suggestions of like, could this be filmed somewhere else? And I had to really fight for it. It's like, well, no, LA is part of the story because LA is this mecca for young talent, right? This is where people all want to come, and they have these dreams, and then they come here with these stars in their eyes, and then so many of them just get kicked down into the dirt, right? I mean, it's reality. I hate to say that, but this city is not as easy as a lot of people think.
No.
And so, I really wanted it to be Los Angeles, because it's like you can get to the top of whatever town you're from and think, okay, I've got it, I'm going to make it, and then come to LA and you're back at the bottom again, right? And I also wanted to show, in the end of this too, with Aster's character, like, she's essentially back where she started. She's back at the Silver Lake Lounge, and like, she's learned a lot, and she's, gained some of her autonomy back, and like, but she's still got a long way to go, right? Like, she is not on the big stage. She's not, there is not this, because like that I feel is pretty real. And yeah, I mean, honestly, just, the whole fight of getting anything made, and like, there's this whole, having to have certain names, and it's a lot. It's exhausting. And, we had to play a lot of those games and fight for what we wanted for this movie and not have it get watered down.
Yeah, I felt like for me, it felt like now I'm thinking about it. It reminded me of the end of Rockstar when Mark Wahlberg's character, he goes from being this lead singer of a cover band to being the lead singer of the actual band, but then he realizes it ain't all gold and glamour, and then we see him at the end with his hair short and performing at a coffee house.
Yep.
So show that he's, I'm willing to go back to where I belong. I've learned so much like it was a personal journey for him, just like it was for Aster. This was a personal journey for her. And I like the fact that this character didn't give up. It was like she persevered, and it was also thanks to her mom. Julie Campbell's phenomenal. And I like the fact that when she's sitting in the bus stop in Germany, You know, she tells her, "You're stronger than you think you are. You know, you just gotta go. You just gotta believe in yourself." And that's exactly what she did. And that's why I love this movie. It feels like it's a total underdog story.
We all need those cheerleaders in our lives, right? Like we make mistakes. We know this. We're going to make mistakes, but people who are still going to love you and be like, listen, you made a mistake, but I love you. I'm helping you. I'm here for you. Like, and yeah, Julia was the perfect person for that. She was fantastic. So was Olivia Sway, who is plays Aster's best friend and is in real life Rainey's best friend. So
That's all. Yeah, I could tell the chemistry between those two was so there. I was like, that was definitely for sure. So with that said, are you going to be directing another film in the long run? Because I cannot wait to, because if you nailed it with this one, which I think you did, I cannot wait to see what's next from you.
thank you. Yeah, I have actually a couple projects that we've got in the works, and I'm really trying to tell more stories about women, taking on the system, whether it's an individual or an actual system, and coming out ahead, winning. And I feel like it's really important right now, especially for women to see those type of films. I've got one that's set in the snowboard world, and I'm really excited about that one. It's an opportunity to show some really incredible female athleticism, but there's also a really good story there too. So yeah.
That is fantastic. Well, Off the Record is coming tomorrow, May 2nd. You all need to see this movie, not only because it's such a great, empowering tale of someone who's willing to overcome all obstacles to break into the business, but like I said, if Margaret Qualley did so well in The Substance last year, this is going to be Rainey's chance, and I think she deserves all the credit for this one. Kirsten, thank you so much for taking the time about it, and I cannot wait to see what's next from you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right, you take care. You stay awesome.
You too. Thanks. Bye.